Today's session on spiritual conversation is, what do you make of your dreams? And I'm very happy to have anybody jump into this conversation because, as I was just saying off the record, we can really only go by people's experiences to gather those together to make some sense of what our dream states are suggesting to us, or what we can gain from them, learn from them, if anything. And I know that that's open to question and open to people's view of perhaps a spirituality or a sense of other levels of consciousness. So really happy to have everyone's opinions here and experiences. It is our personal experiences that make the world of difference to how we understand it all. Okay, so we've got, we'll need to get, hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. What about you?
How do we say your name?
Nabil.
Nabil? Nabil.
Nabil.
Hi, Nabil. Nabil.
Hi. How are you?
Where are you? Yeah, good. Where are you from, Nabil?
I'm from Morocco.
Morocco. Hey, terrific.
What about you?
I'm from Darwin, Australia.
And I'm from South Australia.
Oh, that's nice. Nice to...
Yeah. So
Thanks.
we have 2 Australians and 1 Moroccan so far. Anybody else who's here, feel free to jump in. Okay, so go on, Nabil.
Yeah. What do you say, please?
We're having a little bit of sound difficulty, so whenever any of us, either Marg or myself, speak, we override you, so we have to stop and just let you speak. So if you have anything to say, any introductions you want to tell us about yourself, that'd be good.
Okay, no problem. So my name is Nabil. I'm 25 years old. I'm from Morocco. So I had a degree, professional license in industrial management and logistics. So now I'm in work in logistics in a small company which import the bananas from Ecuador.
You import what from Ecuador?
Banana.
Ah, bananas.
Bananas from Ecuador.
Ah, bananas. I love bananas. So, Nabil...
It's a pleasure to send a lot of bananas for you.
And Nabil, what drew you to tuning into this particular blab on dreams?
Yeah. So, can you explain to me the main topic in this blog, please? Do you talk about dreams?
Correct. So if I start a little bit, and Vin might follow on, and then we'll move over to you. So to begin with, I think it would be interesting for us to share any significant dreams that we might have had, and to share any particular meanings that we might have derived from those dreams, whether they're our personal dreams or you have heard those dreams from somebody else. And I work with many people. I'm a psychologist and an author and speaker, and in my psychology practice, I work with a lot of people, and sometimes we do talk about dreams, and I do tell them I'm no dream expert, but when I hear their stories, of course, we're working with their stories, and then I hear their dreams, it's not too difficult for me to draw some meaning that matches, it's in line with or running a parallel to their story, what's important for them at the moment in their lives. So I'm going to start by sharing one lady's story, because that was recent and it's very vivid and it's in my mind. So she said, like, she's tried so many times. And she's a lady she's just turned 50. She has tried so many times to make a fresh start in life. Her relationships don't seem to last. Her business, it goes okay. She's self-employed and she imports products, a bit like you, Nabil. She imports particular products that she thinks will sell really well to the community. And then she changes the product because she finds a better product. And then, so she's on this new wave of launching out of a market zone into oh, I've got a lot of feedback there, into a more shopfront, more solid type form of selling or formalizing it more. And her dream that she told me was, and this is she's not married, she doesn't have children, and she's not currently in a relationship. So in her dream, she was carrying 2 babies. Yeah. And one she had tucked under her arm, and one she was holding it very carefully because she said, I need to hold these babies really carefully. She knows that. And she said the next thing, the one under her arm just slipped out and it fell on the ground. And she was devastated that she needed to pick up these babies, or she was handed these babies, and she knew she needed to take absolute care of them. And she's already dropped one. And then she is so cautious and careful about how she's holding the other baby that she's got. And it was the very next day, and this is out of the dream now, that's the main context of the dream. So she rings me the very next day. I need an appointment with you. I need to come in. I've had the weirdest dream. and so whenever we did finally meet up, and I heard what's going on in her life, and then I said, now you said about the dream, and she told me this dream, and I said, oh, okay. Now, I don't know, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that particular dream as well, but what I made sense of it, and I said to her, it's your dream, and it's you know, the sense will come from you. However, this is what I'm seeing in it from working with you, that you have these great new ideas, and they're very new and they're delicate because they haven't been proven yet, because you haven't yet launched it. And she's about to launch into this, as I said, a more formalized way of selling her products through a regular shop. And so I said, these ideas, these concepts are quite delicate. And I feel that there's a little bit of fear around it. And the fear can take over and upset you and have you feeling that I've got to be extra cautious here and maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I can't hold it, to nurture this to fruition. So that was what I saw it in it, and I offered that back to her, and she said, "Oh yes, that sounds, yeah, like it resonates with me." But then I don't know. What do you make of that?
Well, I love it when I hear other people's dreams that are so easy to understand, because my dreams are so confused, and I haven't. I mean, it's probably the same for each of us, that we find it easier to interpret other people's dreams than our own, perhaps, maybe. But I love dreams like this, because the baby, to me, from what you've told me of her background, sounds like it represents the new project. You know, a new beginning. A baby is a really obvious symbol of a new beginning. But the fact that she dropped the other one while paying so much attention to the new one, it's almost as if her care and over focus on the new one was actually what caused the other one to drop out from underneath her arm. And I wonder if there was anything to that. But, you know, as anything with dream interpretation, we can look too far into it easily. It's easy to do that and to say, oh, and this means this and this means this, when, you know, it could have been the baby falling out from underneath her arm could have been influenced from a TV show that she watched the night before or something like that. So, you know, it's very difficult to tease apart all of the different influences that go into our subconscious workings.
So then, have you had a dream that stands out in your mind that you'd like to share with us, or the dream of somebody else that has been shared with you?
I have heaps and heaps of dreams that I can remember, and in fact, well, you know, as with all of these discussions, I always like to start with the definition. You know, what is a dream? As you said, it's easy to fall into the habit or the thinking that it must be higher wisdom or my higher self or God or a loved one or that's passed away, or, you know, some of these things responsible for the subconscious activities while I'm asleep, or my thoughts while I'm asleep. But yeah, I think my interpretation of what a dream is, or my understanding, is that it's your subconscious or back brain is active without the logical brain or the front brain overriding and getting in the way, because our logical brains during the day is always turned on and is always necessary to function. But at nighttime, when that logical brain and rational brain turns off or goes to sleep, it's a great chance, an opportunity to tap into those deeper thinking. You know, it's just a deepest aspect of ourselves, really, that's coming out into the fore. And so if you wake up and can remember when your logical brain kicks in, and you can then start to try and rationalize and make sense of these and remember them and go through them. I'll stop before I give mine and say hello to Kyle.
Hello. This is a very deep and awesome conversation that's being had.
Welcome, Kyle.
How are you, Kyle? Where are you from?
I am from Sydney. I am. This is the blue skied area that hopefully will continue to be blue skied since this afternoon, because God knows the weather can change so often and so quickly in this area of the world.
Whereabouts in Sydney are you? I know Sydney quite well. I've got family
Sydney quite
there.
well.
Yeah.
I am predominantly in the West.
Okay. Yeah.
I know that's like saying that someone's like from North Sydney or like East Sydney.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Do I really want to say where I'm from? Okay, I will say this. For people that know Sydney, I am from a place that is known as the behind the back hole of Sydney. If that is making any sense whatsoever.
The Penrith or Parramatta?
I've got an idea of where you might be, but yeah, my knowledge of Sydney is more in the city, around the city area, and to the north. So probably not heading my direction. Who do we have here?
Hey there. Hey,
Carlton.
Kyle. What's up? Kyle, when are you going to get a job?
Carlton already attacking me, and it's not even 10 a.m. in the morning.
I figure I might as well just start right off and jump right in. Now, how you doing, my friend?
I'm really good. I was really
and Margaret and Vin. Sorry, we didn't exclude anybody.
Carlton, now do you have a face?
I do. It's there somewhere. See?
Yeah, we can see the back of your computer.
Yeah,
I know. I get a paycheck from Dell every month.
Oh, come on.
Yes, he gets paid by Dell. He gets paid by Dell for two things. Number one, for being a blabber, and number two, for saying that religion is full of crap.
Well, I never say it that way. I don't say it that way. Now, be nice.
Well.
So what are we talking about? We're talking about dreams here, right? Dreams, right? Or have we changed topic?
Well,
no, we're going to have the same topic all through the blab. It's a blab about dreams and what you make of them.
Cool.
So, Carlton, where are you from?
At a moment, and I say it only that way because I've only moved here about 3 years ago. We live in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay. And what time is it there?
It is 5:53 p.m.
5:53 p.m.
That's about 6 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay. So you're an American. Do Americans dream the same as Australians?
I don't. Why? I have to. Forgive my ignorance, but I'm going to have to ask: when Australians dream, are the dreams upside down? I suspect that we share the same dreams. I can think of lots of dreams in my life that I suspect are pretty common phenomena. I think like a lot of people, I have dreams that recur from time to time, that are very similar in content. For me, it's sort of, my Greek mythology is failing me. Who was it that pushed the big rock up a hill? Well, there we are all in the same boat. Okay. But I sort of have that dream every now and then.
Wow.
I have dreams that are, every now and then I'll have dreams that seem to be associated with sort of and there's a medical term for it, but sort of a dream paralysis where I feel like I'm suffocating in my dream, but I can't move, and I'm like on the verge of waking up, and it's like all my willpower. If I could just move my pinky, I'll be fine, and then you sort of wake up with this explosive, here I am. So I have one of those every now and then, not very frequently. I don't know. I don't dream in color that I recall. My dreams, when I do recall them, they're sort of, they seem perfectly normal, even though I am completely aware of the fact that they make no sense. Does that make sense? So it's sort of when I'm having the dream, I could be walking along and all of a sudden there could be a lion there. Then the lion sprouts wings and then a fire truck comes about, whatever. In the dream, I feel like this is all normal, but of course, when you wake up and recall the dream, you go, that was weird or bizarre. I was talking to a gentleman last night. We were talking maybe not so much about dreams, but about spiritual experiences or experiences that we think are spiritual or attribute to some spiritual source. And we were discussing that a little bit and whether that's a good model for understanding the world that we live in, or reality, so to speak. I don't know. I'm bouncing all over. What else would you like to know?
No, it's interesting. Go on, Ben.
You brought up some really great topics that I hadn't. I was doing a little bit of research before the show, and I was thinking, well, what types of dreams are they? You've hit on some really good ones. Dream paralysis. That's a really common thing, and often happens with children. I think more than adults. I remember I used to dream a lot of when I was a child of being stuck in the hallway and sort of trying to crawl. There would be a monster chasing me or something. And my mum and dad would be just sitting in the couch in the lounge room watching TV, and I'd be sort of crawling and shouting out to them, "Mom, Dad," and I'd open my mouth and nothing would come out, and I couldn't crawl, and I was just paralyzed, and it's really fearful experience because every time you're having a dream, you don't know it's a dream, you think it's real life, and it's so real that you don't know it's not real. So I think we all have those dreams.
I remember my mother who served in World War II, and she was in the Middle East as a nurse, an army nurse, and whether that's got anything to do with it, but I recall when I was living at home and I spent time in boarding school and then I'd left home, but there were times obviously I was at home, but I'd wake up to these screams in the middle of the night coming from Mum's room, and it's like she was being attacked. And it's wow. And this was common. And I thought, wow. And I thought, how can you not know that you're screaming out? How can that not be controlled? And anyway, my husband since told me, not that I scream out, but I get a sense of it myself that occasionally, very occasionally, I will, it's like that being chased and I can't get away, that it's whatever the fear, it gets to that point where I'm just wanting to scream for help and I can't, but sometimes the sound does come out. Wow. And I'm thinking, wow. And then I wake up and think, oh, thank heavens, I'm not in that position at all.
I'm just amazing. My wife is downstairs, so this is the only reason I feel at liberty to say this. I don't understand how my wife can sleep and not know she snores. I always have to reach over in the middle of the night and kind of tap her and say, honey. And she's like, wow.
I think that's a common one.
You're snoring, and she goes, no, I'm not. And I'm like, oh, yes, you are. I think the first person to make the next billionaire is going to be the guy that invents a bed that has a headboard that has a built-in recording device, so that you can replay it in the middle of the night when someone snores.
Let's hope that Mark Zuckerberg's listening.
So what about you, Kyle? You're I can't see how old Carlton might be, but it looks like you're a generation.
Well, I'm not. I can tell you, I'm definitely not a generation X. I'm a generation Y. I'm 21 years old. I'm an entrepreneur from Sydney. I'm listening to this chat and I'm thinking, I am a person. I'm a filmmaker, so I have very visual dreams. And a dream that constantly comes back to me is a dream that I had when I was very young. I don't normally have it now, but I had it since when I was around until when I was maybe 13. And it was a very visual dream. And I can still remember it to this day. It's a dark forest at night, and there are these really weird, abstract-looking trees. They're very strange-looking trees. They're not your little... They're sort of like the Avatar sort of tree. They're sort of like the Avatar sort of trees. They're very long, they're very wide, and they've got this very cool shape. And they're all the exact same thing. And I was in this dream, and I was constantly being run by this strange-looking monster. But unlike you guys' dreams, it somehow cuts to me lying in, like, this tree bed, and this monster's going constantly and running continually further. I don't know what, and then I wait, and then just somehow stops. It literally just stops. And I'm like, what is going on here? It's insane.
That's interesting. I'm glad you brought up that topic of old dreams, because that was something that I wanted to talk about. That when you say you remember this dream, you haven't had it for a while.
Until I have it tonight again, because God knows everything comes back and hits hard.
But I would love to know if others feel the same way as I do. That I can recollect a dream that I had 1996 as if it was last night, because all of I have a theory that our experiences in life they're all locked down to a time and a date and a place. But when we're asleep, there is no such grounding. There's no time. There's no date. It's timeless, and it occurs in a non-physical location. So there's nothing really locking it to time. And so I can recollect any dream that I can remember. I can remember it vividly and clearly as if I had it last night.
I wanted to add on to that, Vin. It wasn't that long ago. I was talking to a friend of mine, and they were asking me, places that I had lived, right, through my life, and memories. We were talking about memories, and I was having trouble recollecting all of them, but I was aware of the fact that I was missing some, and I found that this is where it connects to what you were just saying. I found that what made it easy for me to remember different parts of my life or points of my life was to do it by remembering places that I had fallen asleep. That I had a clear memory of sleeping in a hut in Africa. I have a clear memory of sleeping on an aircraft carrier. I have a clear memory of sleeping at my cousin's house. And I could kind of walk back these places where I had slept, and then that sparked the memories, where they came from or where they were generated from. So it was really interesting when you talked about sort of dreams being a timeless, sort of a different temporal realm than what we experience day to day.
But you're almost saying the opposite, aren't you? That you're able to you're able to do the very thing that I'm saying I can't.
Well, not the opposite. I think my dreams were like what you described. I think that there's never any sense of time in my dreams, but yet the dreams help anchor
that's
other
interesting,
realities.
because mine do. Mine actually
Really?
do. Mine are all set at night. Every single time it happens, it's all set at night.
That's weird. Margaret, if I can ask, since you're the psychologist in the group, was it, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but didn't Freud make a comment on this, that in our dreams, that everyone in our dreams is actually us? That there really are no other personas. It's simply another way that we look at ourselves or yeah, which now of course that terrifies me no end when I have a dream about my high school sweetheart. But I hate to think of myself. Never mind. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there.
Your dream is actually like you were talking about the fact that your dream is about declining you. That's probably how you are now that you're married.
I don't know.
And
I'm kidding.
Freud is well known for all the sexuality that he attributed to dreams. It's our basic sexual instinct coming to the fore in different ways. So he's there's been a lot of controversy over Freud's psychoanalytical theories based on a lot of his dream work analysis. That's interesting. And if we're recalling dreams of our past, I remember that comment from Nita. I remember several years ago now, I had this recurring dream, but it was only 3 times. But it was so significant, and it was the Grim Reaper. And this Grim Reaper came in my dreams and, scared the CRAP out of me. And I thought, my goodness, what have I done? What's gone on? And it wasn't until sometime later, like I was terrified to go to sleep then, in case the Grim Reaper would visit me again. And then I did some personal work on a very significant grief in my life that I had never paid attention to. And it was actually, the death of my own daughter. And I had refused to pay attention to it. Well, I didn't know I had to, really. But with the Grim Reaper, I started to talk to someone, about this Grim Reaper or this grim situation, And of course, it all unfolded, and I've never been visited by the Grim Reaper again. So I think that might be our dreams, in that sense, might be a doorway of opportunity for us when we are so horrified by what we may be experiencing in our dreams, to take notice of what might be horrifying in my life that I don't want to look at. And maybe I need to look at it if I'm going to get any peace when I sleep, let alone in my wakeful hours.
There was a movie, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Nancy. There was a book before that, The Fault in Our Stars. And there was, you can do this too. And there was a line in the book, in the movie, not the book of the movie, but there was an author in the movie who had written a book, and there was a line in the book where he says, "Pain demands to be felt." And I think the implication there was that we can not look at it for a while, but ultimately it is going to win out, and it is going to just devour us until we confront it and deal with it in some fashion. With dreams, I also find, this is in my dreams, getting older, I take a nap sometimes in the afternoon, but I find that when I go to sleep at night, and everybody has their version of counting sheep, I suspect. When I go to sleep, I like to problem solve when I go to sleep. I know a lot of people, it strikes a lot of people being counterintuitive, right? They like peace and quiet and not to think. But I and this is just me, okay? I don't have a background in physics. This is not my thing, but I thoroughly enjoy when I go to sleep trying to work out in my head the mechanics of what the nature of reality is and how time could all fit together. And it's just a weird mental thing. But I go to sleep with these. But the point of that is that a lot of times, and I'm also a computer programmer, a lot of times I find that when I sleep, in my dreams will come a solution to a problem that I am having in real life, be it like a computer problem that I can't see a way to do this, and I get to a point of frustration, sort of, and I set it aside. But it seems that our brains are wonderful machines in that respect, that they seem to hang on to those bits of knowledge that you're looking for, and when you're sleeping, and you don't have the distractions of the day a lot of times, it seems that they can focus a lot more effort in getting them solved, because I've had like sort of those light bulb moments, right? The sort of the aha kind of moment, but it's in my sleep, and I wake up and I go, kind of like the author or the guy that's the writer that's in the middle of the night wakes up and says, "I got it," and then runs downstairs and has to finish writing a chapter because it finally just all came together sort of in a dream, and you're trying to hold on to that long enough to get to a typewriter or a pen or a pencil or something.
Yeah. John Green, who, Carlton, you are referencing as the author of Fault in Our Stars, who's actually a YouTuber, a very famous YouTuber with his brother Hank, actually. He's such an incredible, interesting guy. The fact of what he's especially given to the community of just YouTubing, and I know this is a dream segment, but the fact is, I think that may have flown onto the fact of what the Fault in Our Stars may have been about, because some people say it was about maybe his daughter, one of his friends, one of his friends' daughters, and you just really don't know, and sort of like that.
Hey, Margaret, if I can ask, I'm sorry, I mean to cut somebody off.
I was just gonna ask. I've been thinking about this like 5 minutes. I'm like, I wonder if dreams have any presence in regards to your geographical location or socioeconomic standpoint. Because I'm just interested. I'm wondering. This is a very kind of big sense of a kind of probably wide brow and very probably stereotyping a community. But I'm assuming if like let's say Los Angeles-based people are probably dreaming about becoming famous and getting that big part if they're an actor. I wonder if a director who's in LA is trying to do that, have that same sort of dream. I wonder if it's the same for for a lower socioeconomic person, they're trying to move out. They're wanting to escape their sense of persecution by being a lower socioeconomic person. They want to throw on and they want to get up and they want to go and they want to get their own job. They want to make their own community. Make their own housing so they can just get out of that sort of very socially charged area.
That's actually a really interesting question. I mean, does Maslow's hierarchy, does that apply in our dream state? Do we worry about our basic needs in our dreams first?
I think it's very relevant, Kyle, and it must be the case because basically we are cultural and social beings, and the way we view the world, the way we act, the way we live, everything about us is from that enculturation and socialization. And so our thinking, our language reflects that. The language in other cultures is way different. In a particular culture, say the Eskimos, is way different to where I live here in the tropics.
Yeah.
And we only have one word for snow, not 63. So so what we're focusing on in our lives is actually different. And I think our dream state must be relevant to what our lives look like. And so, they are the correlates.
Sorry, Mark. As you said to Carlton, do you dream in the same way as Australians dream? You know, I think this is probably more not the case than ever now. That in the past, of course, we think about our lives, ourselves, our surroundings. Our thoughts are influenced by our surroundings immediately. But now I'm watching news about what's happening in Syria every day. You know, that would not have occurred before. Now that right now we're talking to people scattered all over Australia and even one from another continent. So, you know, we're talking to people about their lives and their surroundings, and we're watching things on entertainment and on news, and everywhere we look, we're sort of now thinking of a much wider geographical location than our own immediate surroundings. We're influenced by other people in America. You know, I might have a good friend I talk to on a daily basis in America, and I get caught up in his life, and that would influence my dreams. So, I think it's becoming less and less geographically locked down.
What about? I'm curious. So you got me started on this thought process, Vin, of trying to think of other kind of unusual or specific dream things. First one comes to mind is, and I don't know that we have an example of this really, or if we do, I'm not sure if we've ever studied or how we would go about that. But what about someone, not a baby, not an infant, but talking about an adult that has never acquired language skills? How do they dream? In what form do they dream? Or if you had somebody that literally lacked, sense perception, maybe not touch, but maybe lacked sight, lacked, auditory or olfactory senses. And how does that affect what they envision in their dream? And can we even dream in the absence of language skills that we need to formulate ideas? What shape would the dreams take?
I don't think that language has any bearing on dreams at all. I think
really?
I don't, not at all. In fact, when I talk to other people about day-to-day thinking in their waking life, I'm surprised at how often they say that their thinking is determined by language, and it's actually in language. They think in language, which yes. I was very surprised.
Because how would you formulate a thought? I mean, how can you formulate a some type of a cognitive thought if you have no language to express that internally? If
I want to eat, I don't necessarily have to think of the words. I think of the food. The food type that comes to mind.
But you can't. But you can't even that, because how do you think of the food? Again, you can name. But you picture it. But you. I
don't think of the words.
Maybe it's a chicken and egg. You don't think pizza. You don't think I'd like an apple. No,
not of the titles. No.
Okay.
There are many people.
I think that there is human. I think there's human. There's Margaret will probably take me up on this because she's a therapist and I'm clearly not. I'm clearly someone who needs a therapist, maybe.
Maybe we all do.
This conversation. I think there is stuff that is inherently what a human does. Even if they don't have a language barrier, they know to do things. They know to speak. They know to listen. They know to eat. They know to drink. They know to piss. They know to they know how to alleviate themselves. And they know how to dream. It's just one of the things that they know how to do.
But I don't think any of us. Well, we might argue on this, right? But I don't think most of us would argue if I were to say that a turtle can't formulate I don't want to say a thought because that leaves it wide open. But I think you know where I'm going. In other words, a turtle's not sentient. It's not self-aware, so it can't formulate a thought in that term like we can. But isn't it just language, or at least a primary thing that differentiates us? In other words, if we had no language, would we be able to formulate any kind of a thought that more than the turtle? Yes. Really, you think so?
Yeah. Of course. Well, there's no relationship to me in my mind that it's not, one's not dependent on the other. And in fact, you just have to look at a dog. A dog doesn't have any language, and you can see it's very obviously dreaming. They dream that they're running and chasing things. Even, you can see their legs moving sometimes.
Okay. I'll buy that we might be able to see their legs moving.
Can I just quickly interrupt?
Do animals? Well, wait. I want to ask Kyle one thing. Do animals have REM sleep?
I have to go.
What's that? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kyle.
Carlton.
Before we have a massive conversation, I can't speak for the 5 minutes. I actually have to go. I've got to co-host another blab with someone else. But it was great to meet you all. I hope to have a conversation again. And I will see you guys soon.
Thanks a lot.
Take care, Kyle.
See you, Kyle.
Ciao, buddy.
Yeah, I think that we just need to look at children.
Mm-hmm.
And children don't have the depth of language, and little children don't have any language.
Correct.
Very young children. And yet we know, and I've seen some of these children that experience night terrors. That's what they're called. They're not called nightmares when you apply it to children. It's the night terrors. And so they come to see me because of night terrors. And so we work, we don't have any language to work with often. But yeah, we may use picture books or drawings, whatever. But I think we know that children do experience dreams or night terrors. They can't express their good dreams without language. And so that's an unknown. But we certainly know that many children experience night terrors. So I think that kind of suggests that people without language do dream, and that we don't necessarily have to have a vocabulary. And basically dreaming is symbolism.
Yeah, it's the opposite of language. And in fact, it's very difficult to turn into language when you wake up and try and tell someone about it. You say, I dreamt it. And as you're trying to tell them, you realize, this is just nonsense. It's not making any sense at all, because it's very difficult to turn it into language, because it's not derived from, it's not an object. It's not a product of language.
But I love your thinking around it, Carlton, because it kind of, it gets me thinking too.
Well, I think the more interesting question is...
I'm going to give it... go ahead, Vin, sorry. What's up?
I was just going to follow up on your second part of that question, is how do blind people dream? And I think if you're blind from birth, that's a very, very interesting question that's very difficult to get to the heart of, because, when they start to describe something... if they've never seen blue before, are they going to say that it was blue? If they've never seen, the geometry of something that's complex, language is very cumbersome and inadequate to convey so many different feelings and thoughts and experiences.
And if I can come back to my experience of the Grim Reaper, I had no language, no knowledge of what that meant. I didn't know. There was just this fearsome, I didn't even know his name, but I knew what he looked like. I could still draw it. It's the sharp peak and the, hooded person and the what do you call it? The sheath, the scythe or whatever.
Yep.
And the weapon in his hand. And I thought, oh my goodness. So I just was filled with fear with the image. I didn't really have all the words, but then I remembered Ah, yes, I remember. Do you remember, Vin, in Australia there used to be a Grim Reaper ad for
AIDS.
smoking. AIDS?
It was for
Smoking.
AIDS. It was for
AIDS.
AIDS. The bowling
Yeah.
ball,
So
remember?
it must have been back on in the 80s or 90s or
Mid-80s.
something. Yeah.
It was about 85,
And
86.
so obviously, yeah, I don't know, that maybe that got to me. I
That
must have
terrified a
been
lot of people.
impressionable age,
What
and
about
it was a
people
very
that have-
fearful advertisement. So I only had the image to go with. I didn't really have a description of, I had that image. Maybe it did match the image I had previously seen. Somewhere along the way, I got to know that image was referred to as the Grim Reaper. And so
Well,
that's how I was able to describe it to others.
That's the beauty of symbolism, isn't it? That's your own personal symbol for death. I mean, it's a universal symbol for death, but it's what your brain said. This is the expression of fear. This is how I visualize.
Yeah.
Fear.
I never even put death into it until you've just said it, Vin, but that makes a whole lot of sense because it was the fear. It's the feeling, and I think that's a lot in our dreams too. It's the feeling we derive from whatever's gone on. That's what we can listen to. And so when Carlton, you referred to, you had this amazing inspiration. Yeah. I don't want to let go of that feeling because I know that this is good stuff. Let me get to a computer to get it out of me.
Right.
So it's that feeling that kind of is bursting out of you. For me, it was a feeling, and I need to take notice of it because this is having me fearful of going to sleep at night. I don't want to go to bed anymore. I'm going to get that monster come visit.
What about?
So I had to act on the feeling.
What about people who have psychological disorders in real life, right? Someone who's a sociopath, someone who has maybe a multiple personality disorder, someone, we were just talking the other day about Capgras syndrome where, people see relatives and people that are close to them and they think that, it's somebody else in their body. It's not really them. Do they experience the same disorders in their dream state, or are they normal in their dream state? Or does that daytime psychological disorder translate into their dream state to give them even more bizarre dreams? Or in other words, does that personality persist when they're dreaming?
People in wheelchairs, they dream that they can walk, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I believe so. I've worked with people that have had like psychic experiences.
Okay.
And have really flipped out, like psychopathic, believe, because they were actually hospitalized in a mental institution in part of a hospital as being psychopathic. And their dream states, I believe, from working with them, were along the lines of this like delusional and grandeur. So all of those thoughts and expressions that were coming out in real life were being experienced in the dream state, and so validating for that person. And we know that dreams don't necessarily validate because they're often symbolic. Like for me, the Grim Reaper, right, validating my death or my fear, validating it. Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's how I want to see it. I want to see it as a door of opportunity. So, and yes, it may still be. I think our dreams come to us in the ways that make sense to our understanding if we can open that door. So that's why I think they'll be different for everyone because we all have our different perspectives and our different view of the world, and the symbolism that works for me might be totally different for somebody else. Like you mentioned a lion before.
Sure.
So your monster might be a lion. So I think in the same way that people with psychological disorders, if you like, and I don't like to use that terminology. I don't really work with categories. I just think we're all a bit on the continuum anyway.
That's true enough.
And so I just think it's very personal that the dream state is the door of opportunity for that particular person if we can unlock whatever it is the message that can help us to understand a little bit what we may need to be paying attention to in our lives.
In a given
that
night's
can be a real gift of our dreams.
In a given night's sleep, assuming that we sleep through the night, what percentage of our dreams do we recall? I mean, are we recalling? I mean, it seems to me, just this is my own little experience, it seems to me I only really recall the one that I'm having at the moment when I wake up. If I were to wake up at 7 in the morning and then try and say, well, what was I dreaming at midnight, or what was I dreaming at 2? I don't have a recollection of any dreams other than the one it seems that I was having. Right at the moment when I woke. Is that normal? Does that vary from person to person?
Well, it varies from person to person because I don't recall a lot of my dreams, and yet Vin said earlier he recalls most of his dreams. Well, we don't know if they're most, but many. He recalls many dreams.
A lot of different dreams. Yeah. Okay.
I can remember them from a long time ago, but I can tell you now, I don't remember any of the dreams I had last night because, and it's the way you wake up. I think we all wake up differently. I don't know if I wake up slowly or fast compared to other people, but I think that has a very big impact because sometimes I'll wake up and I'll just start thinking about what I've got to do.
Yeah.
I won't put any time and attention to thinking about, well, now, what did I dream?
Right.
And so I won't remember any of them. But if I sat there thinking, well, that's right, I dreamt about that. And what happened then? That's right, that happened. Right. And if I do that, as soon as I wake up, I can remember a lot more.
Have you
but often it's the most impacting one, the most scariest or the most emotional one that I remember.
Now, have you ever had this experience where, and I don't know if the term is right, but it's sort of like intentional dreaming. It's when you are about to wake up, you're sort of in that quasi space between sleep and awake, and at some level you're sort of aware of that's where you're at, but you're having a nice dream, and I know this is going to sound very silly to try and describe it this way, but my sense is sort of, I don't want to move. I don't want to adjust my pillow. I don't want to do anything that's going to disrupt this dream playing out that I'm enjoying being a part of at the moment. Where you almost have this sense of control that if the world will just cooperate for a moment, you can stay here a little bit longer. Ever experience that or go through that?
Yeah, I do it every night. It's called lucid dreaming, and it was on one of it's one of my topics on the list that we were going to talk about. But we're rapidly approaching the hour.
Oops.
But yeah, lucid dreaming is great fun, and I encourage everyone to try it as you fall asleep. I do it at the other end of the night.
Do you? You do it at the beginning of the night? That's interesting.
And intentional dreaming, I do it on going to sleep too. If I think, I haven't noticed recalled any of my dreams for such a long time, I really need to start paying attention. And so I will go to sleep, or prior to going to sleep, I will have the intention of dreaming and remembering my dream. And then I'm more likely to recall my dream. I really want to, this is what I'll say, I really want to be able to remember my dream tonight. I intend to remember to pay attention and remember my dream tonight. And chances are, when I do that, I will recall my dream.
Interesting, guys. I'm gonna bow out for a little bit. This was a really nice hangout. Thank you, or blab. I'm sorry, I keep using the wrong word here. I'm used to hangouts.
Well, thanks for popping in. It's been great, and we're winding up now because it is the hour.
I should get back one day to Australia. When I was younger in the Navy, we stopped in Tasmania, stopped in Hobart, and that's my only contact there. But one day I want to get back there. So. Oh,
you must. Yeah. Well, thanks for popping in.
My pleasure. You guys have a nice night now.
Yeah, you too. Thanks,
good dreams.
Carlton. Yeah, good dreams. And Yeah, so you had on your list the lucid dreaming. I actually had some symbolism and some of the common symbols that people experience with dreams. And we have run out of time to cover all of that. But it's been, been wonderful to have Carlton and Kyle, and before that, Nadil. Just briefly, obviously there were some technical issues with Nadil. It would have been interesting to hear what it was like to dream if you're a Moroccan.
Dreaming of bananas.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I bet he is dreaming of bananas too, because I know when I've done repetitive work, I was clipping wisteria once. I was working at the Botanic Gardens, and it was a horrible job. He was just on this wisteria, just pruning all day. I got home, I went to bed, and I just slept, and I dreamt the whole night of pruning wisteria. I woke up in the morning feeling exhausted, and I thought, oh no, I've just done 8 hours, and now I've got to do another 8 hours, and I don't get paid any overtime.
My friend often says that, she'll wake up in the morning, she says, oh my goodness, I'm exhausted. I was running around the Oval all night or something stupid. All in her dream. So, thanks, Vin. It's always wonderful to connect in conversation on these blabs, and the dreams has been an interesting one. And there's obviously more in the dream topic that we could have covered.
Hey, maybe we should do a part 2 sometime.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what next Friday looks like. It's I don't know if I can squeeze one in because I'm off to Africa in just a week or so. And, so that's going to be interesting. You never know, if I get some decent Wi-Fi over there, I might be able to blab from Zambia or Zimbabwe.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, so we'll see how we go. Possibly somewhere along the line we'll be able to do something. But for now, that's it for Spiritual Conversations for this week and dreaming. I'm Margaret Lambert, psychologist, author and speaker. And Vin?
I'm Vin Brown from Vintuitive, and you can find me at vintuitive.com, and you can find a recording of this show on Margaret's website at margaretlambert.com.
Thank you, Vin. And that's it from us. Bye from, it's Northern Australia and Southern Australia as the last 2 people in the blab.